Hello everybody, this is Mike Pintar, getting ready to start another painting, an oil painting, from my recent trip to Yellowstone Park. The initial day we got there was a nice foggy morning, and the Yellowstone River was just dripping with atmosphere, so I whipped up a quick sketch, and this is the painting I want to get to. I'll be working on a 12 by 24 canvas stretched, and my initial washes here are going to be with cobalt blue and terra rosa, using a triple rectified turpentine as a thinner medium. So again, I'm just trying to work in the major elements and get some lines put down on the canvas so I know where I'm going. Basically drawing with the paintbrush. Now that I've got that done, I need to get to the sky. One of the key elements that I loved about taking on this painting was the atmosphere. It was really foggy. It was a cool morning. It was the first day we drove into the park from the west entrance, and I felt it was just spectacular seeing this fog and low clouds hanging over the river, kind of shrouding the distant pine tree forests that were surrounding this beautiful river. Large rocks, fallen trees. It was just a perfect wilderness type scene that I was hoping I could get a painting out of once I returned back to the studio. So putting together the gray, and my gray was again mixed with cobalt and terra rosa, or cobalt blue and transparent red oxide. That was my combination of colors to mix up the gray. I choose to use a knife initially as I mix the colors, and then scrape that up and put it down on the canvas so I can get paint out there and start moving it around. Once I get some of these big areas blocked in with some base color, then I can start to manipulate the paint using a brush or a knife, and moving towards achieving the results I'm looking for. So I'll come back at you in a couple minutes. I'm going to get this sky finished up and starting to put in the distant trees in this particular scene. I'm progressing now from the background trees into the foreground pine trees that were lining the distant shore of the Yellowstone River. I'm using a combination of flats, different size flats for all of my tree work. I like the way I can just put down flat applications of spots and color, and then using the edges of the brush to give you the impression that these are pine trees of that type. For the greens, I used either cobalt with cadmium yellow deep or cadmium yellow pale. So those were the color combinations I used. Of course, using white to push some of these back. When working wet into wet like this painting is done, you just kind of put the paint out there, move it around, and don't get too concerned about details that aren't going to provide a lot of value. My approach is usually a more painterly approach, showing a lot of rapid brush strokes and without trying to get every needle that might be on these particular pines. Off we go to the river. A couple washes that had already set up from the earlier turpentine that dried quickly, and now I'm using a number 12 flat to put in some of the, I'll call it the underpainting colors for the water itself. This is ultramarine blue with a little bit of cad yellow deep and viridian green. Again, thinned down with a combination of Galkid and rectified turpentine. I like my initial strokes to be vertical, up and down primarily, just to get that feel for the water, and then finishing with horizontal brushwork to get the appearance of the light reflecting off the water, either using a brush or a knife. Now that I have the initial paint down for the water, I go to the knife. I like what the knife can do in creating reflections and the appearance of current on any type of water. Again, my initial strokes typically are vertical up and down, and then I can come back across the canvas with the reflected light color moving in a horizontal direction. It's really that's a combination of very soft touches and manipulation of the edge of the palette knife that will help me achieve the look of the reflected light from the sky. And you got to be careful not to overdo it, because you'll lose that base color that you work so hard to put in place. So it's just a matter of deciding where I want paint, where I want motion, and without getting too ingrained in being a slave to the photograph, I just want to create my own sense of direction, of water flow, and the reflected light. Okay, well, I think we wrapped this one up. 12 by 24 oil. Kind of try to get that foggy feeling back there. A couple rocks on the river. A lot of palette knife on the water work. It's really the only frame I had on it. So, fun times at Yellowstone. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, make a comment. See ya.